We've come a long way together over the last year. Now we need everybody, we need you to get vaccinated and help put COVID behind us once and for all. It's time for everyone to say they've rolled up their sleeves and gotten their vaccinations. COVID vaccines are safe and effective. Everyone in the Benjamin family has now been vaccinated, even our youngest. Just like we've done, and just like so many others across the Midlands, it is important to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your community. Once you've gotten fully vaccinated, you'll know you've done your part in helping everyone get safely back together again. Take a look, see how easy that was. Vaccinations are free and available from great community partners all across the Midlands. Getting our city and all of our communities back to normal is almost within reach. We're almost there. This is your shot, Columbia.
Your family and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, Healthy People, Healthy Communities. In It Together and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. And Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID, brought to you by SCDHEC, In It Together, the Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Hey there, I'm Tre Tailor, and welcome to Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. We continue our election and candidate coverage right here on Coping with COVID with an interview with retiring Columbia City Councilman Sam Davis, plus the person he is endorsing to take over the reins in his district, Tina Herbert. Both of them are here with us today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We're going to talk to Sam Davis and Tina Herbert and more coming up next on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor, but first, your COVID community updates. Amidst weeks of several high-profile incidents, state senators gave DJJ a vote of no confidence in a public hearing yesterday. Dick Harpootlian with the State Corrections and Penology Committee asked Agency Director Freddie Pugh to quit. He declined, saying despite the apparent problems, there have been several improvements. Subcommittee Chair Katrina Shealy said that they will continue to gather information and pressure the governor to change leadership at DJJ. A Richland County company is investing over $20 million to expand their operations. Intertape Polymer Group says about 135 new jobs will be created over the next 5 years. If you're interested in the opportunities, visit the company's career page at itape.com/EN careers. You can see that information on the screen. Finally, the Columbia Housing Authority has opened applications for 2-bedroom units. Visit the Housing Authority website to complete and send your application online, and 2,000 people will be randomly selected. Applications close this Friday at 4 p.m. Visit the website for more information, including income requirements. SCDHEC has your most up-to-date list of times, dates, and location for COVID testing in and around South Carolina. Visit scdhec.gov for more information. Now, throughout the show, you will see scrolling at the bottom of the screen information about COVID testing and other great resources. Please, once again, check the screen for more information. We'll also have information for you about Lexington Medical Center. Most of their vaccination clinics have been transformed to walk-in clinics. That includes the one at Brooklyn Baptist Church. You can see that information on the screen. Plus, yesterday was actually the last day for the Columbia Mall vaccination clinic. So want to remind you about that. Don't go back over there. But again, throughout the show, screening on the bottom, scrolling on the bottom will be several places throughout the state that you can get a COVID vaccination. Now, if you are a veteran, the VA is taking care of all of those COVID vaccinations. You can see the information on the screen to make sure you get registered to take your COVID vaccination. Kroger and CVS are also vaccine locations, and that includes the CVS Inside Target stores. Now, if you or someone you know is having some challenges making their appointment to get a vaccine, there's free help at Get Set Up. Log on or call, and there are online classes available. Now, of course, the Comet is not only offering you free rides to get your COVID vaccination, they are also offering free COVID vaccinations at the main location of the Comet on the corner of Sumter and Laurel Streets in South Carolina. Now, if you or someone you know has a family member or friend that has passed away due to COVID, FEMA is continuing to reimburse folks for funeral expenses. Again, that information is on the screen. Be sure to call or log on so that you can find out if you can get your family members' funeral expenses reimbursed. Several resources are available for folks who are having some financial challenges, including rent and bill payment. Richland County has bill payment program is still up and running. Contact the Richland County SC.gov for more information. And SC Housing has bill and rental assistance available. And they also have a home buying initiative for frontline workers. Again, you can see that information on the screen. ACA open enrollment is continuing through August. Not only you can enroll for health care if you do not have it, but if you do have it, don't forget to log on and see if you qualify for additional subsidies. The South Carolina Department of Mental Health has launched SC Hopes for those who need help coping with COVID. Please make sure you have that resource if you need it. And DSS is offering pandemic aid for foster youth. Again, if you or someone you know is a foster youth and needs some additional financial aid, that is also available. Finally, the summer feeding program is going on throughout South Carolina. We've got some locations up on the screen right now for you if you live in Richland County. Several places are available, and you don't have to be part of the district to take advantage of that free summer feeding program. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. We are streaming live on the Tailor Made production page. Would you go over there and hit like and follow so that not only you can watch Coping with COVID Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then First Monday with George Wallace, you can also get all of your COVID-related updates. We're also streaming live on YouTube. Want to say hi to all of you YouTubers, and thank you so much for watching, and encourage you also to hit the subscribe button. We also have a presence on Instagram and on Twitter, so please go over there, like, share, follow, and don't forget to post your question if you have a question. I want to remind you about the Dash for Good Health Southern Soul Cookbook. You can get that and a Coping with COVID face mask if you're still wearing your face mask. A lot of people still are. It is free to anyone who wants one. Please post in the chat, I want a Dash for Good Health cookbook, and someone will contact you to get your mailing list, and we'll get it out to you for free. Great cookbook with easy to understand recipes that you love, but with a little healthy twist to it. I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you again so much for joining us for Coping with COVID. Don't forget to post this information out so we can get the message to the masses as we continue our coverage of state and local elections. We are actually talking right now today to the city council member who had decided not to run. Sam Davis began serving District 1 when he was elected in 1998 and has overseen his district's revitalization, including streetscaping and new business development on North Main, Belmont Residential Project, and ensuring a better quality of life, including resources for businesses and residents in District 1. Sam, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So listen, tell me, why back in 1998 did you decide to run?
Well, I looked at the field of candidates at that time. And for some reason, I honestly thought that the kind of representation I wanted was not in that group. There were 4 candidates, and I always reflect back on my roots in politics, dating back to Jessica Simpkins, John Hopper, all those past leaders, Kay Patterson, and so forth. And the foundation was there in terms of having expectations, dealing with issues, dealing with the city council at the time that was the result of our efforts just prior to that, because we could not be elected at that time. There was a totally at-large system.
Oh, wow.
And so the fight was that we had to change that, and the result was the 4-2-1 form of government that we have now. 4 members at large. I'm sorry, 2 at large, 4 single member districts, and the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the bottom line was that was my motivation, and we got together to just put together our platform. And at the time, Dalton Tresvant was my campaign manager.
Wow.
Up until this day. And they told us that we could not run with the big boys. We need to stay on the porch.
Wow. Wow. So to say there were 4 white guys probably running against you.
Right. And we won with 50%, no runoff. We had the right message. And
is your phone ringing, Sam?
I'm sorry?
Is your phone ringing? I hear a buzz. Is that your phone?
It has stopped now.
Okay, all right.
You don't want to go there again. But so that was an experience, but there was also a message in that. There were expectations. People expected. I think the ones that knew me expected me to maintain that grassroots mentality, staying close to the people you represent. I love going to neighborhood meetings. That's the closest point between you and the people you represent. And do your best to one, stay in touch, try to understand the issues, make sure your voice is heard, whether you win or lose. But everything's not kosher in politics. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but stay focused.
Yeah. So now 23, 24 years later, you have remained in that spot as the representative for District 1. Tell me about some of the accomplishments you feel like you've done, made to improve District 1, some of the projects.
Well, I think before you mention projects, you need to, I think, take a look at what the relationship is now between the neighborhoods, those are where the majority of the people are that you represent, and city government. That has been greatly improved. There are neighborhood meetings everywhere in the city, especially in District 1.
Right.
Every month. Sometimes I take a summer break or so, but that was one of the weaknesses, and that kind of communication and being as close as you can to the people you represent. The projects, we were starting with some of the basics. The number of storm drain projects that was on the table that we were successful in getting done. I think the most famous in District 1 was the Randall Street project. And the streets were flooding. The flooding was coming through Gable Oaks apartments at the time and through the neighborhood, my neighborhood. I chose to live where I'm living now. And then within other neighborhoods itself, Greenview, there was a major couple of $1,000 projects there. The storm drain projects are not cheap, but when you see it, you know that is a substantial investment because one, it provides safety and also it helps to preserve or maintain property values. You're not going to move into a neighborhood where the streets are always flooding.
Right.
The other area that was in need, still is for that matter, taking a look at recreational facilities. Where do kids go? What kind of facilities do they have? Especially during the summer months.
Right.
We've been successful in building a new gym at Greenview. That was a multi-million-dollar project. Maintaining the first-class tennis court that's out there. Just completed last year a kiddie park. Just completed a playground area in Harlem Heights, Fairwall. That was a major project. Just completed the Busby Street Community Center. As those who remember Busby Street was essentially a slum area, and we had to connect to the bridge now that crosses 277. But that is a multi-million-dollar project. The streetscape, people talk about the streetscape, but that's okay. That's one project. But the goal is to do the same on Farrell Road and to continue what we've started on North Main down the road. But those are signals that investment is happening.
Right.
And we're right now in the middle of redoing Hyatt Park. We expect that to be completed late September. That is another multi-million-dollar project. We daylighted. You know, when you walk down certain areas, you see a little water coming up out of the ground, a little stream, then it stops. We did what we call daylighting. That stream, that little spot now is a stream that's going to go through the park.
Oh, cool.
New picnic areas, an amphitheater, and the kinds of things that you would expect in a neighborhood park. And it's on a major corridor. Even the sidewalks have been designed to accommodate people with disabilities. You know, we've got the 3-story senior living building across the street. So those folks, it'll make it a little easier for them to leave their building, cross the street, and come to that park.
Yeah, we're talking to retiring city councilman from Columbia, South Carolina, Sam Davis. He's talking to us today on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. Hey, please continue to post and share this information out so we can get this message to the masses. And don't forget that scrolling at the bottom of the screen are additional resources, including vaccinations and financial information if you need it, if you are coping with COVID. So some of the goals that you had back in 1998, you know, at least the first 10 years, do you feel like you've accomplished them, Sam?
We've accomplished some things. I don't know of anybody in this business that will tell you that they've accomplished 100%.
Right.
Of what they set out to do. And then things happen along the way that sort of adds to what's on your plate. But I think one of the best things that has happened, as I mentioned earlier, the voters and the citizens in these neighborhoods are much more aware of avenues they can take to get certain things done, to be heard, and have expectations of you being responsive.
Yeah.
Just called today. There's a lady I've got to go see tomorrow because she's been having some holes in her yard, sinkage. Little things, out of sight, out of mind, but that's a quality of life issue.
Absolutely.
And they want you to be responsive or at least hear you. And I'm not bragging. I kind of pride myself in being responsive. If you get a call, there's certain things you can handle over the telephone, but sometimes it's good to go on site to see exactly what the problem is. And therefore, you know, or you have a pretty good idea of what needs to be done and how long it would take to get it done.
Yeah.
One thing that's still hot and heavy for me is still I think the infrastructure of the city. That's a major issue, challenge in a number of cities, but we've got to deal. I think we've got to fix the water and sewer lines in the streets. You drive through certain streets, not only in District 1, but
right, all over the city.
Yeah, and you see the streets are crumbling and so forth and so on. And there's water. There are issues with water coming from the water meters and that sort of thing. Dealt with one of those yesterday, and in fact, while that storm was coming down, I got a call from a gentleman up in Chestnut Hill. They have an issue there. So those are the kinds of things we have to stay on top of, have to continue to tweak in terms of strategy. Because again, those are quality of life issues that impact where you live, what you think about the area you live in, and what people think about the area you live in when they come through, or
right.
if they drive through at all.
So from your perspective right now, what does District 1 need? What else is needed in District 1? What would you like to say?
I think we need to, the one challenge I think we need to overcome is the grocery stores, not necessarily your big,
or lack thereof.
well, the area is on the fringe of the food desert.
Yeah.
So we have to deal with that. Although we know that a lot of the big box grocery stores, they're not that eager to go into certain areas now. They have their own problems in terms of cutbacks and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But and then to see more alliances with the organizations that are actively filling that gap when it comes to grocery stores or food supplies. And I think we ought to we need to speed up some of the infrastructure things I'm talking about. Better lighting, we do those. We have a relationship. I have a relationship with DOT. A number of the streets, the majority of them aren't owned by the city. They're owned by DOT. But we have some areas now on the table that we're going to address. I don't know how many will be completed. We will complete before I leave, but those are things that are obvious. Those are everyday issues. They're not one-time challenges for you. If you put the infrastructure in, you got to maintain it.
Right. Absolutely.
To keep it viable and to be useful to people, because those are the things that sustain property values, help to increase property values, and help to attract new property owners, people invested in an area.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam Davis joins us. He has been serving on Columbia City Council for some 24 years this year. And his all of your youth been sucked into the thing. And he has decided not to run for re-election. Why was this the right time for you to leave, Sam?
Well, to tell you the truth, it's time. I made a promise to my wife 2 elections ago. That would be 8 years. That was it. That I'm ready to step down. And then things kind of piqued your interest, and we had some projects on the table. We'd like to see them completed.
Yeah.
And also like to see commitments to certain projects going forward. And so I ran 2 times after I made that promise.
Right. So you found in the doghouse.
yeah, that fleas aren't your best friends either. But I told her that this is it. I'm I'm not going to run anymore. It's time. That's all.
Right.
It's time. Then again, jokingly, it's good to leave before they run you off. Before they run you out of Dodge. But I'm looking for some young blood and new ideas.
Right. Right.
And I think you've got, for example, a guest probably today. I'm not sure.
Yeah, she's coming up next. She's coming up. And I was going to ask you about her. Before we talk about her, let me ask you, what are you going to do now? You've been serving on council over 20 years, and that's a long time. It's a big chunk out of your life to stop doing that all of a sudden. What are your plans after November?
I want to run for the border.
Ah!
Well, I have.
Which border? South Carolina border, the country?
Way down south.
I
have no idea, no specific plans. I was thinking about going back to my hobby. I was trained by Philip Simmons, the Charleston blacksmith. Thinking about maybe doing some of that. Some offers to do some consulting and those kinds of things. I have no idea. I'm not committed to anything. I'm not committed to anybody. And the bottom line too, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy.
That's right. I bet she's got some things planned for you, even if you don't.
Yeah, but it's been good. I had an opportunity to take a crack at it. And as I said, there's nothing wrong with someone coming behind you. I think the needs are clear. And then it's always good to have some folks come in with some new ideas.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that person, Tina Herbert, and it's a picture of you and her mom right there. And so how did this endorsement of Tina Herbert come about?
Well, yeah, I've known Tina for a number of years. And as most people know, and some are still finding out, that she worked for the city. She was in the city system. And she's in an area that's one of those things I didn't mention that I'm also looking at. It's been a challenge, and that is to work with small minority businesses,
right?
Especially financing and getting loans to start up your jobs or your new business or to maintain it. She has a lot of information on that. She's very skilled at it. She understands it. She understands the needs of small businesses, especially here in Columbia. And and to work with these banks need to do a better job of working with minority businesses, African Americans in particular, to create some business loans. I've got some ideas on that still, and I think she's a good person to help make some of those things happen. And she is a neighborhood person. She's lived in District 1 practically all her life, except I think when she went to college. And so she knows a lot of people in these neighborhoods. She knows the issues in these neighborhoods, and she knows, I think, she knows the combination and the needs of council when it comes to making sure that no area of this city, of this capital city, is left behind. You have to treat it equally. Some may be behind because when I came in, there were things that needed to be done, but there's got to be a process where you don't miss a beat with certain type of leadership. And when you're dealing with a truly homegrown person, you have experience, you have knowledge, and you have commitment.
Right.
Because you have people and family members that this is now. There are certain folks that won't let me. They don't cut me any slack, and I've never asked for any.
Yeah.
If I miss something, bring it to my attention. And if there's something I need to know, bring it to my attention. You know.
So what would you tell her, Sam? What advice would you give her? Two areas, on campaigning and on serving District 1. What advice would you give her?
Well,
given her?
Most people that know me when it comes to the politics, is one thing I always do. I did it all during my tenure. From day one, you got to run hard and run scared.
Mm-hmm.
As long as she runs hard and runs scared, she's fine.
All right. And as far as serving District 1, what would you tell her?
I just tell her to listen to the people you represent, and don't be afraid to put anything on the table.
Yeah. Retiring City Councilman Sam Davis, thank you for your 24 years of service to the City of Columbia and to District 1, and for joining us today on Coping with COVID. I appreciate you, Sam.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I'm glad we finally made this thing
I am too. Coming up next, the person Sam talked about that he is endorsing, Tina Herbert. We'll talk to her next on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor.
Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by SCDHEC. Visit scdhec.gov for an updated list of testing and vaccination sites and info to help protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. In it together, SC and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Visit columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers, helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, visit Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. The Comet Bus System, a fast, fun, friendly transit system that can take you anywhere you want to go in the Midlands. So don't miss your shot. Catch the Comet and get a free ride to get your COVID vaccine. Visit catchthecomet.gov. Javis Tax Services, South Carolina's premier full-service financial provider with over 20 years of experience. Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. And Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. Call Daniel for honest, professional, reliable, and knowledgeable computer sales and service. Coping with COVID from SCDHEC. In it together, the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Services, the Comet Bus System, Palmetto Media Connections, Javis Financial Services, and Computers Unique.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
The Comet gives me a reliable source of transportation.
It's very convenient to me, and they have wonderful drivers.
It's clean, and it builds community. It's fun to meet people.
It makes me feel like really independent. It's just fun.
It's always going to be there, and it gets me everywhere I need to go.
We try to ride every single day. Comedy is our livelihood.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday life, but when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
Let Palmetto Painting Services take the worry out of your next home painting project. We can paint anything. Our business is about interior painting and exterior painting. We offer services for residential and commercial properties. Restore the life to your home with a fresh coat of paint from Palmetto Painting Services. References are available upon request. Give us a call at 803-546-4570 today.
Visit Davis Tax Service today, 803-419-1001.
Get ready for the 5th annual Juneteenth Freedom Festival, Saturday, June 19th at the Dutch Square Mall in Columbia. Starring the legendary Manhattans, Nelly Tiger Travis, and Chubb Rock performing live. Vendors, food trucks, bounce houses for the kids, and fun for the entire family. The South Carolina Juneteenth Freedom Festival, Saturday, June 19th at Dutch Square Mall in Columbia. Free admission. To be a vendor, contact 803-834-1991.
How will you remember the year 2020?
COVID.
Losing my job.
Working 12-hour shifts in a mask.
Losing my grandma to COVID.
COVID has claimed thousands in South Carolina and strained our health system, schools, businesses, and families. If you're struggling and need to talk, call SC Hopes. That free call can help put you in touch with people who can help. This goes for healthcare workers, teachers, restaurant employees, parents, anyone and everyone. SC Hopes. Mental health and addiction support for challenging times.
Hey there. Thank you so much for joining us once again for Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. I'm Tre Tailor. Hey, don't forget about the Dash for Good Health Southern Soul cookbook. We're giving it away courtesy of DHEC. It's a great cookbook with some of your favorite recipes, really easy to read, easy to use, but they have a healthy twist on it. All you have to do is post in the chat that you want to dash for good health. Someone will contact you, get your mailing address, and we'll send it out to you. Simple, easy, great cookbook. Don't forget to get that if you would like it. Listen, we are continuing our coverage of candidates in upcoming local and state elections on Coping with COVID. And today, one of the candidates for City Council District 1, the person that Sam Davis, who is retiring, we just talked to, is endorsing. Attorney Tina Herbert has lived in the district. She is running in for most of her life. In 1992, she graduated from Kenan High School. She has a BA in accounting and an MBA and JD. She's currently represents injured workers at Mickle & Bass Law Firm, but she has a long history of being a public servant and previously led the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities. Now, she wants to help her family, friends, and neighbors on City Council. Tina, congratulations on your candidacy, and thank you for joining us today on Coping with COVID.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let me ask you, you're busy already, got a lot going on. Why did you decide to run for City Council?
Well, I've been watching, working for the city, I got a lot more exposure to just City Council and what they were doing. And, sometimes you kind of sit there and be like, well, I know what I would have done, or I would have said,
Well, look, that's different than being and saying it and doing it.
Oh, absolutely. But what I will say is then when Mr. Davis, when I found out that he didn't plan to run again, and I kind of looked at where I was in my timing in life, I had maxed out what I thought what I could do at the city. And I just figured this was another way that I could serve. I've been doing community service, public service, literally since I moved back home. And this was another way that I could serve. And I think I have a servant's heart and a servant spirit. And then I found myself one day saying, well, like, honey, I guess we're going to run.
So how has working for the city prepared you for this?
Well, it gives you a very unique understanding about the process of City Council developing policy and then how we get it done. Okay. And how we sometimes there is a break in between what City Council intended and how city staff interprets what needs to be done. But I also got to see, because of what I did, I really got to see a little bit into every single department. Gotcha. Because I worked on the goals for minority spending. And so that was something that required me to work with every single department throughout the whole city. So I got to see the different departments and how they work just a little bit. And I always tell people, oh, I don't want to learn your department and don't want to do your job. That's not what I'm trying to do. Right. But I do need to understand their purchasing habits. So that just gave me exposure to the inner workings of how things really get done at the city.
Now, as an attorney, what qualities from your time working now with Mickle & Bass, originally with Steve Benjamin's law firm, what qualities do you bring that will be helpful there?
What's funny about that is when I worked for the city, they used to complain that I was always in litigation mode.
Wow.
But what that meant was I just documented everything. And then I also had to read everything. So I rarely just took someone's word for something. If someone said, what we're supposed to do X, Y, Z, then I usually said, well, show me X, Y, Z so I can read it for myself and make sure that we're doing this exactly right. So that part of just always wanting to read everything and making sure we're doing it exactly right, but then also being an advocate. I'm a litigator. I was a litigator before. I have hearings now, but everyone knows in my office, I'm ready. I love going to court. I love it. So I'm trained to be an advocate. I'm trained to help persuade people. And so when you're dealing with tough issues, I think sometimes I'll be able to use those skills of how to really communicate with people and then how to understand people, because you have to listen to them as an attorney to understand what their issues are and then try and find solve their problems. And so the last thing I think I'll say is I am a problem solver by nature. Yeah. And in legal practice, I solve problems. So I think all of that together helps me really be in a good position to run.
We mentioned Steve earlier. I want to ask, I know that you did work for him and you all are friends. So what advice has he given you? For running, and how has he impacted your life and your career?
Well, so that's very interesting that you asked, because when I first met Steve Benjamin, it was before he ran for Attorney General. And I remember him telling me he wanted to go into politics. And I wasn't into politics. And I remember saying, that's interesting. And then I saw the paper that, he's running. And I literally may have said to my mom or something, I said, oh, that little boy was serious about running. Like, I just had no clue, because I didn't go to law school here. So I wasn't really connected with everything that was happening. But honestly, I guarantee you, I would not be running or even considering running, I don't think, if I hadn't gone to the city when he went to the city and had that exposure. So now you can't tell him I give him credit. But I think because of the exposure that I had while working for him, it did create a desire to want to serve.
We're talking to Tina Herbert. She is running for City Council, District 1. She is running to replace the retiring County City Councilman, Sam Davis, who we just talked to a little bit earlier. He mentioned that grocery stores, a food desert, was one of the big issues in District 1. What do you think are some of the issues?
Well, first of all, I do agree with him about the grocery stores. And I will say, when I was at the city, I started a food co-op initiative that did not go as we planned, but I do believe it's still a very viable concept because what people may not understand, at some point people used to say, well, why we got a new Whole Foods on the other side of town, why don't we have a Whole Foods over here?
Right.
Whole Foods, you must have, they're looking for $80,000 per capita income. We don't have $80,000 per capita income in this area. Right. And so, and we have to also understand that these folks, they've done this all across the country. So they know what works for them and what doesn't. So we have to be creative. And I think that a food cooperative is a very creative solution to that. Another thing, in addition, is the increase in crime. It's going on everywhere.
It is.
But it is impacting our areas. And so we have to look at ways to be to all be problem solvers. People need to understand that we can't police our way out of it, and this is really a time for the community to come together and look at the assets that we have in our communities. Look at our churches, look at our schools, look at our barbershops. Mr. Tolliver just had a great event this past weekend. And he has such a rich legacy of wanting to leave something for his boys and making sure we recognize people. We need more things like that, because honestly, the city can't solve all of those issues. But I think it's also a great opportunity for us to use the assets that we do have to come together and start thinking creatively.
Are there certain projects that you want to implement in District 1?
I have a couple, not necessarily projects. Of course, the food co-op would be one of them.
Yeah.
But I do want to make sure we get more restaurants, or make sure we maintain the restaurants that we have.
Right.
It's often a complaint about being able to just go and run to get something to eat, that you have to go downtown or go to the other side of town. The other side of that, though, is we have some nice restaurants now, or small restaurants now, that we need to support.
Yeah.
Because if we don't support them, they won't stay.
Right.
So I've been doing dining in the district, where I'm going to different restaurants that people that aren't necessarily the most familiar ones, just to expose those restaurants, and as a part of recovering from COVID.
Yeah.
Because it hit the restaurant industry so very, very, very hard. And so that's very important to me, to make sure we maintain the restaurants we have while we're trying to recruit other ones coming. So there are a lot of things that we can do, and that we're looking at. And then, of course, true to my heart, just because I was in OBO, we're doing a disparity study that's really going to look at how we're spending our dollars with small minority women-owned businesses.
Yeah.
The city spends roughly about $150 million every year. And back, I think in 2015 or so, we set a goal for the first time. And we've been able to reach that goal. And so that's been very encouraging to see that if you put a plan in place, that helps. And the importance of that is job creation in all communities, because my goal was economic prosperity for all communities. So I'm going to keep that same motto, economic prosperity for all communities. And so when you do that, you create more jobs in all communities. And so maybe some of our kids that are getting in trouble don't have anything to do.
Right.
If they could go work at the corner store, or a mom and pop shop with people they know, who will tell on them if they act up, like it used to be.
That's right. That's right.
We can begin rebuilding certain areas in our community.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting as an alternative, or as a solution, or at least as something to take a stab at, so to speak. The increasing gun violence in our community is give them something to do. Are they not busy enough? Fill their heads with something good and positive and productive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And look, everyone is not going to survive like me and my child, because all we could do is church and school, church and school. Everybody's not going to do that, But I remember, my daughter used to play at the rec league at Reed Chapel. So we need to start opening up the churches that have gyms.
Yeah.
Little boys, I kind of grew up in the day where men needed to play basketball just because, like, it was a right, that's a rites of passage. You got to play basketball. But those, although we don't push you totally to sports, we have to also understand the lessons that they learn in team sports. And so maybe if we're playing on the team, then we don't have to be involved in the gang, if that makes sense. Yeah, so we really have to, and some of it isn't necessarily new. Some of it is doing what we know worked back in the day, but just trying to find new ways to implement them.
You mentioned the dining in the districts. I love that, Tina. Is that something that people can go to your website and check out, or the list of places that you're going dining in the district? I love that concept. Can people find that there?
We don't have it on our website yet. We're going to put it there probably in August, but they can follow us on Facebook, because we do a Facebook Live whenever we go.
Okay.
And so on Thursdays, we usually announce where we're going to be. And if the restaurant is open, we let folks know, come on out to meet us. But the key thing is to give exposure. And I honestly haven't been to every restaurant, so I'm enjoying going and tasting stuff myself. But I don't get to eat much on the campaign trail. So I'm like,
people are talking to you, you can't eat.
So I need something to eat. But it has really been important to me too, to hear from people, because we used to always say back in the day that you don't go into someone's community and say, this is what you need to do. Right. You listen to people, you hear what their concerns are, and you include them in the process of developing whatever your platform is going to be. So I was telling someone the other day, my website doesn't have my platform because I'm still listening to people. And I'm going to start and always continue to listen to people. Like Mr. Davis said earlier, he listened to people. So I'm going to listen to people because they're the people that you want to represent. And that's just very important to me.
We're talking to Tina Herbert. She is a candidate for Columbia City Council District 1. Please continue to post and share this information out as we continue to inform and educate you about the candidates for the upcoming election. Listen, November will be here before you know it. So let's find out who's running and what they're talking about. We see Tina's social media information on the screen. So please, check her out and follow her. Why should people vote for you, Tina? Why are you the candidate for District 1?
I really do believe, and I say this as humbly as I can, that I've really been doing the work for the last 21 years. And I didn't know that the work that I was doing was going to take me here.
Right.
I just know that the Lord led me here. I ran a CDC for my church, or I was president of Young Lawyers. So I got to work with volunteer organizations, working for the city, which really made no sense, honestly, if you think about my trajectory. I mean, it really didn't. I left the practice of law. I completely left for 7 years just because I felt that was where I needed to go. So I have been doing the work for 21 years, and I feel like it has given me the experience, the exposure to just be really, really effective. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I do believe that I can help people solve problems. And I just have a vision that all of the folks in my district and in the city can just live their best lives. And I want the city to do what it can do to help us and make sure that they don't hinder us from living our best lives.
What can people do to help you, to support you, to inform you so that you can not only serve District 1, but create a platform for your candidacy?
Absolutely. They can go to our website, and it's very simple, tinaherbert.com. And on the volunteer tab, there is a sheet that you can fill out with, and you can leave comments. We're looking for volunteers, of course, to go to all of these events and make sure I'm everywhere I'm supposed to be. It's a lot of work. And then donate. Campaigns do cost money. No, seriously, it's very interesting. And just making sure that we're competitive, but anything from $25, the max is $1,000, but it's people don't understand how important just a $25 gift would be to the campaign. It would be tremendous to help us buy postage and stamps, T-shirts for the volunteers, because everyone wants to be cute. Like I want to be cute too. But I really do want people to help me if they feel I'm worthy, to help me better my community. And I hope that people see that I'm genuine about it. This is my neighborhood. I've been here all my life. And I think the last thing I'll say is, I could live anywhere.
Right.
I chose to come back to Columbia, South Carolina 8 years ago because it was home. But then I also chose to live in the area code that I grew up in, 29203. Because I felt that little boys and little girls needed to see doctors, lawyers, and professionals every single day so that they can know maybe I can do something like that. And that's just that's always been my goal, to help people in whatever way that I can. And I think that this is just my next level of service.
Yeah. Well, this is Tina Herbert. She's candidate for Columbia City Council District 1. Again, you can go to tinaherbert.com. You see her website right there on the screen for more information. And we also have her contact information on the screen. So if you want more information, if you want to volunteer, if you want to donate, please do that on the website. Tina, thank you again so much for joining us today on Coping with COVID. Again, good luck to you. God bless. And please let us know if there's anything we can do to help.
Trey, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and certainly appreciate all the years that Mr. Davis has served for our district too.
All right. Thank you. Tina Herbert, y'all. Go ahead and check out her website and get the information that you need for her today. I'm Tre Tailor, and listen, if you have a story or initiative that could help someone cope with COVID, would you go over to the Tailor Made production page and inbox me? We would love to feature you on Coping with COVID. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtretailer@gmail.com. And we would love for you to be a proud sponsor of Coping with COVID, just like SCDHEC, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, In It Together SC, and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina, Computers Unique Dutch Square Mall, the Comet Bus System, also Javis Tax Services, and Palmetto Media Connections. And we're so excited about welcoming our new sponsor, Palmetto Painting Services, and you'll hear more about that very soon. Listen, coming up tomorrow, it is our Black Music Month continuance of our celebration. We're going to do part one of an interview with the mother of Black Music Month, Deanna Williams. She is the person that went to Congress and wrote the bill and did the advocating after her then husband and Philly music producer Kenny Gamble asked her to do that. She is going to join us tomorrow on Coping with COVID. And then Juneteenth artists T.P. Hearns and Nellie Tiger Travis will join us and tell us what Black music means to them and what influenced them. That's our Black Music Month celebration every Friday this month in June, right here on Coping with COVID. And then, of course, next Wednesday, In It Together SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. We're going to have an open and candid conversation with Black men from all decades, all generations, about health issues. This is something you won't want to miss. Not only men, but ladies too, because ladies, we deal with Black men. So we need to know how to get them to go to the doctor. That's coming up next Wednesday on Wellness Wednesday, right here on Coping with COVID. As usual, I leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling. Today is June 10th. And Jesus says today, rest in me, my child. Give your mind a break from planning and trying to anticipate what will happen. Pray continually, asking my spirit to take charge of all of the details for today. Remember that you are on a journey with me. When you try to peer into the future and plan for every possibility, you ignore your constant companion, who is Jesus. He says, I sustain you moment by moment. As you gaze anxiously into the distance, you don't feel the strong grip of my hand holding yours. How foolish are you, my child? Embrace me. Remember me. It's a daily discipline. Never lose sight of my presence with you. This will keep you resting in me all day, every day. That's your Jesus Calling for today, Thursday, June 10th. I'm Tre Tailor. Until the next time, I wish you peace, abundant blessings. Stay safe. Be careful. Wear your mask over your nose, under your chin, and please take your vaccine. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Coping with COVID. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdhec.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC. Healthy people, healthy communities. In It Together and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council. Presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. And Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID, brought to you by SCDHEC, In It Together, the Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.